Hey guys, it's JP at Justus Prep. Welcome to another episode of our ACT math practice. This is day number 4. Now, if you haven't seen the previous 3 videos, definitely check those out. We're gonna get started with the next 3 problems. You're gonna want that PDF, so get that. There's a link in the description below. I think I've covered everything, so let's get started. Question number 1, how many solutions are there to the equation 2x squared minus 8 equals 0? Now there are actually various ways to solve this problem. Probably the first way that most students would try to solve this is to just solve for x. So we would take the equation and isolate that x, so put the 8 on the other side, and we get 2x squared equals 8, divide by 2, and then we get x squared equals 4. At that point, we're square rooting both sides, and we get x equals plus or minus 2. So there would be 2 solutions to this equation, and the answer is B. Now there's another way to do this. I think that this step right here, going from x squared equals 4 to x equals plus and minus 2, might be the most tricky or most challenging step. I think students just assume that it's just positive 2 and not positive and negative 2. There's a way to do this to ensure that you're going to get 2 answer choices, or two answers. Notice that this is a quadratic. So a quadratic is in the form ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. Well, in this case, it equals 0, but this is standard form for a quadratic equation. You have an x squared term and an x term, and then you have a constant. And this here is in standard form. It's just that the b, or the bx here, is 0. So this is really 2x squared plus 0x minus 8. And what we do with quadratics, in order to figure out how many solutions there are, we use what's called the discriminant. The discriminant is b squared minus 4ac. Now, if you've used the quadratic formula before, you can see that this is actually part of the quadratic formula. So that inside that radical is your discriminant, and the discriminant is what we use to determine how many solutions there are for a particular quadratic equation. Also note that quadratic equations can be graphed as parabolas. So this is actually a parabola. Now, we take this quadratic equation and we figure out this is our b term right here. This is a, this is c. And so let's calculate b squared minus 4ac. Let's get the discriminant. So that'd be 0 squared minus 4 times 2 times negative 8. So that's 0 minus, well here this would be 8 times 8, which is 64. That's positive, so it's minus a negative 64, which ends up being just positive 64. So this is really 0 plus 64, which is 64. When the discriminant is positive, we know that we have 2 real solutions. So we have 2 solutions when the discriminant is greater than 0. If the discriminant equals 0, then we have 1 real solution, and if it's less than 0, then we have no real solutions. In this case, because it's positive, we know that we have 2 solutions. So we could have solved it this way by solving for x, or we could have used the discriminant, or to find the discriminant, which is positive, and that way we know that there are 2 real solutions. Another way to do this is to graph this quadratic. We know that if I were to, let's just say I'm going to simplify this. I'm going to divide everything by 2, and I get x squared minus 4 equals 0. Now, the graph of x squared is a parabola, right? It looks like that. Goes to the origin and looks like that. X squared minus 4 is the same parabola shifted 4 units down. So it's a parabola that would look like this. And in that case, we see that there are 2 solutions because it crosses the x-axis at 2 points here. So that's another way we can figure out that there are 2 solutions. It's x squared shifted 4 units down, and so we know it's going to hit the x-axis at 2 different points, and so we have 2 solutions. Right, question number 2. If 3x equals 2y minus 1, then y equals. Here, let's just take the original equation, and we want y. So we're going to isolate this y. This is a fairly easy problem. All we're going to do is bring everything to the other side except the y. So the first thing we'll do is add 1 to the other side. So that'll be 3x plus 1 equals 2y. And then we only have one more step. We're going to divide by 2, but let's just look at the answer choices and see what can't be right. This is 3x plus 1. So anything with a minus is not going to be the right answer. It's going to be 3 over 2x plus 1 or 3x plus 1 all over 2. This step here is dividing by 2. We have to divide the entire thing by 2 here. So then y equals 3x plus 1 all over 2. The answer is E. Now remember that with problems that have variables in the question and variables in the answer choices, what we could have done was we could have found values for x and y, and we could have found values for x and y that allow this equation, or that allow the left-hand side to equal the right-hand side, and then we would have had to plug in the x value into each of these answer choices to see whether or not it equaled y. It's a little bit more time consuming in this situation. I think here this only required 2 steps, so I would have done it this way versus plugging in numbers for the variables. All right, question number 3. When graphed in the xy coordinate plane, at what point do the lines x minus y equals 12 and y equals 2 intersect? If we're looking at 2 lines that intersect, right? If we are graphing them on a coordinate plane, let's say the coordinate plane looks like this. We see that it's going to have some x value. So there's one x value and one y value that both lines share. That's what we're trying to find. So we have one line, x minus y equals 12, and the other one is y equals 2. We can solve this algebraically simply by substitution. So y equals 2. What we can do is just plug the 2 into that value. So that's x minus 2 equals 12. X equals 14. So x equals 14. All of these ordered pairs, remember ordered pairs are in the form x comma y. So wherever there's a 14 in the x value, which would be right here, this one is in the y. None of the other answer choices have a 14. So it wouldn't be these answer choices. And since this is the x, answer here will be D. All right, that is it for today. I hope that this video was helpful. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to our channel. Again, my name is JP. This is Justus Prep, and I will see you guys in the next one.